Hi, my name is Kelly and I'm a volunteer with Appalachian Wildlife Refuge. And if you follow us on all of our social media platforms, you can get more videos and updates on animals in care at our facility. I am also a second grade teacher, so I love books, and I thought it'd be great if I shared some woodland stories with you each Tuesday in Tuesday Tales. So the great thing about these stories is that even though they're about animals, we can learn lessons as humans, from sharing to friendship and family and problem solving. So in today's Tuesday Tales is Waddles by David McPhail, and it shows us how to love and how friendship can make us feel full. But before I begin, you may have remembered a few Tuesdays ago I had some chrysalises and caterpillars, and just last night and this morning all 5 have hatched. So they're making a lot of noise right now, so I wanted to share with you. They're still in their net, and I'm still online teaching, and we're going to release them in 2 days from now. So we have the sugar water, and we have 5 very active adult butterflies, and my scholars are so excited. So the other great thing about this book, Waddles, is that it's a circular story. So kind of what happens in the beginning happens at the end, and everything comes full circle. So sit back and enjoy. This is a little bit of a longer read, but it's got a lot of great lessons in here. And be sure to watch to the end to hear the answer to last week's Tuesday Tales Trivia and for this week's Tuesday Tales Trivia question. So this is Waddles by David McPhail. Waddles waddled like a duck, but he was not a duck. Waddles was a raccoon, a very round raccoon, and he was always hungry. Can you hear that? They're making so much noise fluttering around. Spring. Waddles lived in a hollow tree in the park near a beautiful pond. Every day, Waddles waddled down to the pond to visit his best friend, Emily. Emily was a duck. Sometimes they went swimming together. Other times, Emily kept Waddles company as he searched trash cans for something to eat. Emily offered to share the bugs that she caught, but Waddles preferred half-eaten sandwiches or cake. Who wouldn't want some cake? One morning, Waddles found Emily sitting on a newly built nest. "Would you like to go for a swim?" Waddles asked her. "Not today, Waddles," said Emily. "I laid my eggs. Now I have to sit on them until they hatch." "But how will you get food for lunch?" Waddles asked. "I'm not sure," Emily said. "Then I'll bring you food every day," Waddles told her. A few days later, Waddles brought Emily some breakfast. "Oh, how I wish I could go for a swim," Emily said. "Why don't you?" Waddles said. "I can sit on the eggs for a while." At first, Emily hesitated, but then she thought about it. "That's a splendid idea. You're very cuddly, and with all your soft fur, surely you'll keep the eggs safe and warm." So Emily went off for a swim. Waddles waddled over to the nest and made himself comfortable. He felt very proud that he could help Emily and protect her eggs. Suddenly, Waddles felt a poke, and then another. He turned his head to see a red fox crouching behind him. Waddles started to growl. He knew the fox wanted to steal the eggs, but Waddles had promised to protect the eggs, and Waddles kept promises. When the fox saw how determined Waddles was, he slowly slunk away. Then Waddles felt a tickle under him. At first he thought the fox had returned, but one by one the eggs were beginning to hatch. Soon, 5 little ducklings poked their heads out of the shells and began to chirp. "Let's go find your mother," Waddles told the ducklings. The ducklings tumbled out of their eggs and made a ragged line behind him. Together, they waddled to the pond. Emily laughed when she saw them. "Oh, Waddles, what a lovely little family you have," she said. And then they all had a swim. The season has now changed to summer. Spring was in the beginning, now we're at summer. Every day, Waddles visited the ducklings. Sometimes Waddles told them stories. Sometimes they went swimming. Sometimes they just shared their favorite snacks. And sometimes they all just cuddled together for a nap in the warm sun. Waddles had never been so happy. Autumn, or fall. Soon the ducklings were not little anymore. They were nearly as big as their mother. The days grew shorter, the wind blew colder, the ground in the park was covered with leaves. One morning, as Waddles waddled to the pond, he noticed the park was covered with a glimmering coat of frost. "Good morning, Waddles," Emily said. "I'm afraid it's time for us to fly south. This park will be no place for us when the winter comes." This was the saddest news that Waddles had ever heard. What would he do without Emily and the 5 ducklings? "Don't be sad, Waddles," Emily said. "One day it'll be spring again and we'll return." The ducklings crowded around Waddles and hugged him goodbye. Then, with their mother leading the way, they went scooting across the pond and rose into the sky. Even after they were gone from view, Waddles could still hear them quacking. Finally, their sounds had faded, and he was alone. Winter. Winter had never bothered Waddles before. His thick fur kept him warm, and the park was always so beautiful in the snow. But it just wasn't the same. There was no one to tell stories to, or to ice skate on the pond with, or to share snacks with, or cuddle next to for a nap. Waddles still looked through the trash cans for food, but he just wasn't really that hungry. The cold days slowly passed. Then one day, Waddles discovered a little flower pushing up through the melted snow. Waddles heard a noise in the distance. It was the sound of ducks quacking. Many ducks. Waddles raced to the pond just in time to see Emily and the ducklings splash down. "Waddles," they all cried, "we missed you." The ducklings, who are now grown-up ducks, crowded around him and hugged him tight. Winter was finally over. The ducks had come home. The trees filled with leaves and blossoms. The sun warmed the water in the pond. Spring had returned and brought Waddles' best friends with it. And once again, snacks tasted sweet, and life in the park was as it should be. Waddles felt very full. And that's Waddles. And the circular part of the story was that it went through the seasons, and what happened in the beginning with Emily came back and revisited them back in the spring again. So circular through the seasons and circular through the story. So last week's Tuesday Tales trivia question was, what are the smallest wildlife that Appalachian Wildlife has rehabilitated? Okay, the answer is the eastern box turtle, which is the size of a nickel, and an old field mouse, which is 2 grams, which is less than 1 ounce. So if you could think about an eastern box turtle, it's the size of a nickel, super small. So here is this week's Tuesday Tales trivia. On the opposite end, what is the largest wildlife that we have taken in, and how many pounds did it weigh? And I'm going to give you a hint. It's related to the animal that we just had in our answer for last week. So last week's answer was an eastern box turtle. I want you to think about the largest wildlife animal and how many pounds that might have been. Comment below and tune in next week for a new story and the answer to this week's Tuesday Tales Trivia.